I asked the question as rain stitched the silence. Wanting her felt reckless. Lily's eyes softened, distance shrinking. Between thunder and breath, I felt love whisper, terrifying and right, leaving me awake beside hope tonight. Hook text. If you like this love story, then press like button and tell in comments where from you watching this video. For more romantic and emotional love stories, press subscribe button. Thanks. My world had become small without me noticing. Not empty, never empty, but carefully contained, like a room with the windows shut tight to keep the cold out. Every morning began the same way. The kettle boiled while the sky outside our kitchen window stayed grey, undecided. I packed Mia's lunch, apple slices first, always cut the same way, then the sandwich with the crusts removed because she said crusts scratched her throat. I tied her shoelaces twice because she liked them extra safe. I smiled even when my eyes burned from another short night. 7-year-olds don't ask if you're lonely. They assume you're whole. 3 years had passed since Anna died, but time hadn't softened the loss, it had simply taught me how to carry it quietly. I learned how to function, how to survive. Happiness felt like a language I used to speak fluently and then forgot. Our house sat just outside Manchester, a modest place with white walls and a garden I rarely touched anymore. It was safe. Predictable. Silent in a way that felt protective during the day and unbearable at night. Sometimes, after Mia slept, I would stand in the hallway and listen to nothing, as if silence itself might say something back. I wasn't waiting for love. I was waiting for morning. Lily Moore arrived on a Tuesday afternoon, carrying a stack of exercise books and a smile that didn't ask permission before settling into my thoughts. Mia's new teacher. I'd seen her name on emails before, but names are harmless until they become faces. She had kind eyes, the kind that looked directly at Mia when she spoke, not over her head. When she laughed, it was soft, unguarded, like she hadn't learned yet to ration joy. I noticed all of it and immediately hated myself for noticing. People like Lily didn't belong in my life. I kept my emotions folded neatly, like letters I never opened. I had rules now. I didn't linger. I didn't imagine. I didn't let warmth turn into need. Mia needed stability, not a father distracted by feelings he couldn't control. Still, when Lily thanked me for coming to the school meeting, her fingers brushed mine as she handed me Mia's workbook. It was nothing. A fraction of a second. Yet the contact stayed with me long after I walked away, like heat trapped under skin. That night, rain came without warning. Manchester rain wasn't dramatic, it didn't announce itself. It simply arrived and stayed, steady and relentless, turning roads into mirrors and time into something slower. I was locking the front door when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Mr. Carter? Lily's voice came through, uncertain but calm. I'm sorry to bother you. My car broke down. The roads are flooded, and the school office said you lived nearby. I should have hesitated. I should have suggested a taxi, a tow truck, anything that kept my world intact. Instead, I grabbed my keys. She was standing under the weak glow of a streetlight when I arrived, rain soaking the ends of her coat, hair pulled back too loosely to survive the storm. When she saw me, relief crossed her face so openly it startled me. Thank you, she said. I didn't know who else to call. I told myself it was just kindness. Just habit. Helping was easy, it didn't require risk. Her car wouldn't start. The road behind us was already half submerged. I drove us home in silence, the sound of rain filling the spaces where words might have gone. Lily stared out the window, fingers twisting in her lap. I wondered who she called when she was scared. I wondered why she'd chosen me. At the house, Mia was already asleep. I kept my voice low, showed Lily the living room, offered tea because that was what adults did when they didn't know what else to offer. She wrapped her hands around the mug like it was something solid she could rely on. "Just for the night," I said quickly. "Until the storm passes." "Of course," she replied. No hesitation. No assumptions. Still, the house felt different with her in it. Warmer. Louder in a way that had nothing to do with sound. We talked about school, about teaching, about how Mia insisted on reading the same book every night because she liked knowing the ending. Lily smiled at that, said children found comfort in certainty. I almost laughed at the irony. At some point, the rain grew heavier. The lights flickered once, twice, and then steadied. Lily's eyes lifted toward the ceiling. "This place feels calm," she said. I didn't tell her calm was just another word for lonely. Later, when I showed her the guest room upstairs, the radiator clicked uselessly. Cold air lingered there, untouched by the warmth below. I apologized more than once, embarrassed by the small failures of my home. "It's fine," she said. But when I checked again, the room was still freezing. The only warm space left was my bedroom. The idea settled between us like something fragile. I felt it before I spoke, felt the weight of it pressing against all the rules I'd built to survive. "I can sleep on the floor," I offered too quickly. She shook her head. "Don't be ridiculous." And then, without planning to, without permission from the part of me that knew better, I asked the question that cracked my world open. "Will we sleep in the same bed?" The words hung there, trembling. I regretted them immediately, not because I didn't want to, but because wanting felt like betrayal. To Anna. To the life I'd constructed. To the man I was supposed to be. Lily didn't answer right away. She studied my face, searching not for desire, but for safety. I held my breath, afraid of what her answer might take from me, or give. "It's okay," she said finally. Soft. "Certain. If you are." We lay on opposite sides, fully clothed, the space between us louder than the rain outside. The bed felt unfamiliar, like it belonged to someone else. I stared at the ceiling, counting my breaths, listening to the storm press against the walls. I thought about Anna. About the way she used to sleep curled into me, like the world couldn't touch her there. I wondered if memory could coexist with something new, or if love was a room that only held one person at a time. Beside me, Lily shifted slightly. Our hands brushed. Just once. Neither of us pulled away. The rain softened. The house settled. Somewhere between distance and closeness, I felt something dangerous begin to bloom, not loud, not certain, but real. And as I lay there, awake in the dark, I knew my quiet world would never feel the same again. The lights flickered just as the rain struck harder, as if the storm had decided to test the house's patience. For a second, everything dimmed, walls, memories, resolve, then the electricity steadied, leaving behind a soft hum and the sound of rain clawing at the windows. Lily sat on the far end of the couch, wrapped in one of Mia's blankets. It was too small for her, cartoon stars stretched awkwardly across her shoulders, but she wore it like it belonged there. The mug in her hands steamed faintly. I'd made the tea too strong, I always did when I was nervous. I noticed the way she sipped carefully, hiding a smile, pretending not to mind. "Thank you for this," she said, voice low, respectful of the sleeping house. "I don't like imposing." "You're not," I said quickly. Too quickly. The words came out firm, almost defensive, as if I needed to convince myself more than her. She nodded, eyes dropping to the mug. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The silence wasn't awkward, exactly, but it was aware of itself. Heavy. Like it knew it meant something. The rain outside grew louder, drumming against the glass in uneven rhythms. I watched it trail down the windows, thin lines chasing each other into nothing. Weather had always felt symbolic to me, ever since Anna used to say storms made everything honest. That people showed their true selves when the sky refused to cooperate. Lily broke the quiet first. "Mia is special," she said. "She watches more than she speaks." My chest tightened. "She gets that from her mother." Her eyes lifted at that, soft but attentive. "You don't talk about her much." "I don't want Mia to feel like she's living in a shadow," I said. "Or that loving her mum means there's less space for her." Lily nodded slowly, understanding settling between us like something earned. "Children understand more than we think," she said. "They just don't always have the words." We talked then, properly talked. About her classroom, the way she pinned children's drawings to the walls even when they were messy, because effort mattered more than perfection. About how Mia corrected her spelling once and beamed like she'd won a medal. About how I learned to cook from YouTube videos after Anna died and still couldn't get pasta right. She laughed easily, a quiet sound that curled into the room and stayed there. But beneath it, I sensed something deeper. A pause before certain words. A careful choice of what not to say. Loss, maybe. Or longing. The clock ticked past 10. Then 11. At some point, Mia padded down the hallway, rubbing her eyes, and I carried her back to bed. She murmured something about dreams, her small hand gripping my shirt like an anchor. When she fell asleep again, I stayed there longer than necessary, watching her chest rise and fall, reminding myself why I kept my life contained. When I returned to the living room, Lily was standing near the window, blanket slipping from her shoulders. She looked over when she heard me, guilt flashing briefly across her face, as if she'd been caught trespassing in something private. "She's asleep," I said. "Good," Lily replied. "She's wonderful." Too quiet again. The house always did this at night, expanded. Every sound echoed. Every thought grew louder. I gestured upstairs. "The guest room is ready. Or it should be." We climbed the stairs together, the floorboards creaking under our weight like they were remembering older versions of the house. When I opened the guest room door, cold air spilled out immediately. The radiator clicked uselessly, stubborn and silent. I sighed. "The heating's been acting up." "I'm sorry." Lily stepped inside, rubbed her arms, then shook her head. "It's not your fault." But I could see it, she was already shivering. "The living room couch," I offered. She smiled politely. "You don't have to keep rearranging your life for me." That word, life, landed heavier than she meant it to. I stood there, torn between hospitality and instinct, between the man I was and the man I'd buried. The only warm room left was mine. The realization settled slowly, deliberately, as if it wanted me to feel every second of resistance. I walked back downstairs, Lily following. The bedroom door stood slightly open, warm light spilling into the hallway. I felt exposed just looking at it. "I can take the floor," I said. "I've done it before." "Ethan," she said gently, stopping me. "You don't need to punish yourself for being kind." The word punish hit closer than I liked. We stood there, the space between us fragile and electric. My heart beat loud enough that I was sure she could hear it. I opened my mouth to suggest something sensible, safe. And instead, the truth slipped out. "Will we sleep in the same bed?" The question hovered between us, thin and trembling. I wanted to pull it back, swallow it whole, pretend it had never existed. Not because I didn't want the answer, but because wanting felt dangerous. Wanting meant remembering how to hope. Lily didn't respond immediately. She studied my face, searching past the words. For intention. For respect. For something solid she could stand on. If this is uncomfortable, I started. It's not, she said. Not if we're careful. Careful. The word echoed. We lay down on opposite sides, fully clothed, a polite distance between us that felt anything but small. The bed smelled faintly of laundry soap and something older, memory, maybe. I lay stiffly, hands folded over my chest like I was preparing for impact. The rain softened, becoming a whisper. Wind pressed against the walls, testing them, then moved on. I stared at the ceiling, tracing cracks I'd never noticed before. My mind drifted, to Anna, to the nights we stayed awake talking about nothing and everything, to the way grief taught me to survive by shrinking. Beside me, Lily shifted. The mattress dipped slightly. Her breath slowed. I wondered what she was thinking. If she regretted saying yes. If she felt as exposed as I did. Our hands brushed. Just a touch. Barely there. Yet my entire body responded like it had been waiting for permission. I didn't move. Neither did she. The distance between us felt intentional now, not a wall, but a promise. That whatever this was, it would unfold slowly. Honestly. As sleep refused to come, I realized something quietly devastating. This was only supposed to be one night. But already, I knew. One night was never going to be enough. Will we sleep in the same bed? The words left my mouth before I could measure them, before I could stop myself from crossing the invisible line I had spent years drawing. My voice came out low, uneven, like it didn't fully belong to me. The room seemed to hold its breath with me. Lily froze. Not dramatically, no sharp inhale, no step back, but in a way that felt heavier. Like time itself paused to watch what she would do next. She turned slowly, really looked at me then, and I realized she wasn't searching my face for attraction or hunger. She was searching for intention. The rain tapped against the window, softer now, more patient. The lamp beside the bed cast a warm, forgiving light, but there was nothing forgiving about the moment. This was a threshold. One step forward meant I couldn't return to who I was before I asked. If it's uncomfortable, I said quickly, the words tripping over each other, I can take the floor. Or the couch. I don't want you to feel. No, she interrupted, gently but firmly. It's okay. 2 words. Quiet. Certain. She didn't smile. She didn't rush. She simply nodded once, like she'd made a decision she understood the weight of. That scared me more than hesitation would have. We turned off the lamp together. Darkness slid over the room, thick and intimate. I could hear the soft rustle of fabric as Lily climbed into the bed. When I followed, the mattress dipped beneath my weight, a subtle reminder that I wasn't alone anymore. We lay on opposite sides, fully clothed, the space between us deliberate and loaded. It felt wrong to close it and wrong not to. The bed hadn't changed, but suddenly it felt smaller, as if it were pressing us together without actually letting us touch. I stared into the dark, my eyes adjusting slowly. I could make out the faint outline of her shoulder, the rise and fall of her breathing. Each breath felt counted. Measured. Important. I hadn't shared a bed with anyone since Anna. The thought arrived uninvited, sharp and sudden. My chest tightened as memory rushed in, her laugh, her warmth, the way she used to steal the blankets and claim innocence when I complained. Grief wasn't loud anymore, but it was persistent. It lived in the spaces between moments like this, waiting. I wondered if Lily could feel it, the ghost of another woman in the room. I wondered if that was why she'd left the distance between us untouched. Respect, maybe. or caution, or instinct. Minutes passed, or seconds. Time had lost its shape. The rain shifted again, wind pushing it harder against the glass. A branch scraped the side of the house, the sound brief but jarring. Lily inhaled sharply, then steadied herself. Without thinking, I spoke. "You're safe here." The words surprised us both. She turned her head slightly toward me. "I know," she said. After a pause, she added, "Thank you. Not just for the house. For the space. For the care." Silence returned, but it felt different now, less guarded. I felt my shoulders lower, tension bleeding out slowly. Somewhere in the dark, my carefully constructed walls began to thin. "I don't usually do this," I admitted quietly. "Ask questions you don't have answers to," she asked. "Let people this close." Her breath caught, just slightly. "Neither do I." That was when I realized this wasn't just about warmth or convenience. This was about two people standing at the edge of something fragile, each afraid to move first. My hand lay at my side, fingers curled into the sheet. I became acutely aware of how close her hand was. Inches, maybe less. The space felt charged, like a held note waiting to resolve. I thought of the letters Anna used to write me, small notes she'd leave in coat pockets or books. "Don't forget how to feel," one of them had said. I hadn't forgotten. I'd buried it. A small movement. Lily shifted, turning slightly onto her side. The mattress responded, pulling us closer by necessity rather than choice. My heart thudded hard enough to echo in my ears. "Ethan," she said softly, testing my name like it mattered. "Yes. If at any point this feels like too much, tell me." I turned toward her then. In the dim light, her eyes were open, reflective, searching mine again, not for permission this time, but honesty. "I will," I said. "I promise." Her gaze lingered. Something unspoken passed between us, understanding, maybe. Or restraint. She turned back onto her side, facing away, but not before her fingers brushed mine. This time, the contact stayed. Neither of us pulled back. Her hand was warm. Real. The simplest contact, yet it sent a quiet shock through me. I didn't tighten my grip. I didn't move closer. I just let my fingers rest against hers, acknowledging the moment without claiming it. The rain began to fade, leaving behind the low hum of the night. The house settled around us, wood cooling, pipes whispering. Somewhere down the hall, Mia turned in her sleep, the sound grounding me instantly. I was a father first. I would always be. The thought steadied me, but it didn't erase what I felt. If anything, it sharpened it. I wasn't looking for escape. I wasn't chasing desire. I was standing at the edge of connection, careful not to fall too fast. Lily's breathing slowed. I wondered if she was asleep or pretending to be. I wondered if she was thinking about her own past, the things she hadn't said. The losses hidden behind her easy laugh. My mind replayed the question again and again, not the words, but the moment. The way everything had changed when I asked it. As if by naming the possibility, I'd allowed it to exist. The walls inside me didn't collapse all at once. They cracked, slowly, deliberately. Enough to let something new seep through. I closed my eyes, knowing sleep would come eventually, but not yet. Because between us lay more than space. There was history. Fear. Hope. And as the night deepened, I understood something quietly profound. The question hadn't been will we sleep in the same bed. The real question, the one that echoed in my chest, was whether I was ready to wake up changed. In the dark, with her hand still resting against mine, I didn't have the answer. But for the first time in years, I wanted one. It hovered at the edge of the room like a guest who didn't know whether they were welcome. My eyes stayed closed, but my mind refused to rest, circling the same thoughts over and over until they lost their edges. The rain had stopped completely now, leaving behind a thick, listening silence. Even the house seemed to wait. Beside me, Lily breathed slowly, evenly. Or maybe she was pretending, the way I was. The distance between us felt smaller than before, not in inches, but in intention. Our hands still rested close enough that warmth passed between us without permission. Minutes stretched. Then more. I wondered how many nights I had spent like this over the last 3 years, awake in the dark, holding conversations with ghosts. Tonight felt different. The silence wasn't empty. It was shared. You still love her? Lily's voice was quiet, almost careful, as if she was stepping into deep water. She hadn't turned toward me when she spoke. She didn't need to. The words found me anyway, landed squarely in my chest. I opened my eyes, staring at the ceiling, at the faint shadow where a crack ran like a scar. For a moment, I considered lying, not to protect myself, but to protect the fragile thing unfolding between us. Instead, I swallowed. I always will, I said. The truth settled heavily between us. I didn't dress it up. I didn't soften it. Loving Anna wasn't something I could switch off. It was a part of me, woven into my bones, into the man I had become after losing her. Lily turned then, slowly, facing me. In the dim light, her expression held no jealousy, no fear. Only understanding. Maybe that scared me most. That doesn't mean you can't love again, she said. Her voice carried no demand. No expectation. It wasn't advice or hope disguised as kindness. It was simply a statement, steady, grounded, generous. Permission. I hadn't realized how much I needed it until that moment. Permission to feel without guilt. To want without erasing what came before. To believe that love wasn't a finite thing, that it didn't run out once it had been spent. I exhaled shakily, a breath I felt like I'd been holding for years. She used to paint, I said suddenly, the memory rising without warning. Anna. Landscapes, mostly. She said skies were the hardest part, too many ways to be honest. Lily listened without interrupting, her eyes never leaving mine. There's one still hanging in the hallway, I continued. I almost took it down when she died. Thought it would hurt too much. But it felt wrong to hide her. It's beautiful, Lily said softly. I noticed it earlier. Something in my chest loosened at that. The idea that Lily had seen it, not just passed by it, felt significant. I stopped letting people really see it, I admitted. Seeing her. Seeing me. Outside, wind brushed against the house, a low sigh that pressed through the walls. The weather had always mirrored my inner world, storms when I resisted, calm when I finally spoke. Lily shifted closer, just slightly. Not enough to cross a line, but enough to close the space. Our hands touched again, this time more intentionally. Her fingers rested against mine, warm and steady. I'm not here to replace anyone, she said. I wouldn't want to. I know, I replied. And I did. I felt it in the way she chose her words, in the care she took with every movement. Silence followed, but it was gentler now. Confessional. I felt something opening inside me, not breaking, not spilling, but unfolding. Sometimes, I said, I'm afraid that if I let myself feel happy again, it means I'm forgetting her. Or worse, betraying her. Lily's thumb brushed lightly against my knuckle. A grounding touch. Love doesn't work like that, she said. It doesn't erase. It expands. The word echoed. Expand. I turned toward her fully, drawn by the calm certainty in her voice. In the low light, her face looked softer, more vulnerable. There were shadows beneath her eyes, stories she hadn't told yet. What about you? I asked. What are you afraid of? She hesitated. Just long enough to matter. That I'll choose someone who isn't ready, she said finally. And call it patience. The honesty in her answer cut deep, not because it accused me, but because it trusted me with the truth. I felt the weight of it settle on my chest, not as pressure, but as responsibility. I don't want to hurt you, I said quietly. I know, she replied. That's why I'm still here. The moment stretched, fragile and charged. I could hear the clock ticking faintly downstairs, each second marking something irreversible. The night felt thinner now, as if dawn were already considering us. Our hands remained together, neither gripping nor retreating. Just resting. Existing. I thought about Mia, asleep down the hall. About the promises I'd made to myself after Anna died, to be careful, to protect her, to never let chaos into our lives again. But what if love didn't have to be chaos? What if it could be quiet? Considerate. And? Lily leaned back slightly, eyes closing for a moment, as if collecting herself. When she opened them again, there was something resolved there. I didn't expect this, she said. Tonight, I mean. Neither did I. She smiled faintly. But I don't regret it. Neither did I. And that realization startled me more than anything else. I had expected guilt to follow honesty. Instead, there was relief. A sense of alignment. As if parts of me long out of sync were finally finding the same rhythm. The night deepened around us, shadows shifting as clouds passed over the moon. Somewhere in the distance, a car drove by, its sound fading quickly. The world continued, indifferent and vast. Lily's fingers curled slightly into mine, a subtle invitation. Not for more, not yet, but for presence. I accepted it without question. I don't know what happens after tonight, I admitted. She nodded. Neither do I. We lay there, hands joined, words spent, letting the silence carry what speech no longer could. My thoughts slowed, softened. Sleep edged closer now, tentative but willing. Just before my eyes finally closed, Lily spoke again, barely above a whisper. Whatever this becomes, let it be honest. I promise, I said. But promises are fragile things, I knew. They require more than intention. They demand courage. As sleep finally claimed me, one thought lingered, quiet, insistent. Morning would come. And with it, choices. In the dark, holding her hand, I wondered whether I was ready to make them. Morning arrived without ceremony. No dramatic sunrise, no sudden clarity, just a pale wash of light slipping through the curtains, touching the edges of the room as if asking permission. I woke slowly, the way one does after a night that changes something fundamental. My body felt heavy, but not tired. Full, maybe. Or braced. For a moment, I forgot where I was. Then I felt her. Lily lay beside me, turned slightly onto her side, her hair fanned across the pillow like she'd been mid-thought when sleep finally claimed her. There was still space between us, but it felt intentional now, not fear, not avoidance. Choice. I stayed still, afraid that moving might fracture the quiet miracle of the morning. Sunlight traced the line of her cheek, softened the seriousness she carried when awake. In sleep, she looked younger. Unburdened. Alive. Something in my chest shifted, fragile and unfamiliar. I waited for the familiar rush of guilt to follow, for Anna's face to rise up between us, for grief to reclaim its territory. It didn't. Instead, there was only a careful, trembling hope. The kind that doesn't announce itself. The kind that waits to see if it's allowed to stay. The door creaked open before I could make sense of it. "Daddy." Mia burst into the room like a small storm, wild hair, mismatched socks, laughter already in motion. She leapt onto the bed without hesitation, the way only children can, scattering the careful stillness I'd been guarding. Then she froze. Her eyes landed on Lily. "Miss Lily?" she asked, voice tipping into confusion. Time stuttered. Lily stirred, blinking awake, her expression shifting quickly from sleep to awareness. She didn't sit up right away. She didn't scramble to explain. She just smiled, soft, warm, exactly as she did in the classroom when children felt unsure. "Good morning," she said gently. Mia blinked once. Then twice. "What are you doing in Daddy's bed?" she asked, curiosity winning over concern. I opened my mouth, heart racing, already preparing 1,000 explanations, careful ones, safe ones, age-appropriate ones. But Lily spoke first. "There was a big storm," she said calmly. "And your daddy was very kind. He made me tea." Mia considered this, her small face serious. "Was it the strong tea?" she asked. Lily laughed quietly. "Very strong. That did it." Mia grinned, satisfied. She crawled between us without hesitation, curling into my side like she always had, her head resting against my chest. Lily instinctively shifted back just enough to give her space, her movement thoughtful, respectful. The three of us lay there, tangled in something new and unnamed. My heart pounded, not with fear, but with awe. This was the moment I'd been dreading without knowing it. The one where reality caught up with emotion. Where the rules I'd written for myself would either hold or shatter. I waited for guilt. It didn't come. What came instead was relief. A quiet, steady warmth spreading through me, settling in places that had been cold for years. Mia felt safe. Lily felt present. And astonishingly, I felt whole. Mia yawned, her fingers clutching my shirt. "Can we have pancakes?" she asked. "On a school morning?" I said, feigning seriousness. "Yes," she said confidently. "It's a special day." I looked at Lily. She raised an eyebrow, smiling. "Sounds official," she said. We moved slowly then. No rush, no awkward scramble to separate. Lily slipped out of bed first, smoothing her sweater, giving me space to help Mia down. Our movements didn't feel guilty or secretive. They felt normal. That realization unsettled me more than anything else. Downstairs, the kitchen filled with morning sounds, the hum of the kettle, the clatter of plates, Mia's running commentary on everything from clouds to dinosaurs. Lily stood beside me at the counter, flipping pancakes with surprising confidence. "You've done this before," I said. She smiled. "I have 3 younger brothers." That explained the patience. The ease. I watched her move through my kitchen like she belonged there. Not claiming it. Not rearranging it. Just existing within it. Anna's painting hung on the wall above the table, a sky in motion, layered blues and greys breaking into light. Lily noticed me looking at it. "It feels brighter in the morning," she said. I nodded. She painted it after Mia was born. Lily didn't respond right away. She just let the information settle, like it deserved time. Mia climbed onto her chair, swinging her legs. "Miss Lily," she said suddenly, "are you my teacher or my guest?" Lily laughed softly. "Both, I think." Good, Mia said. I like when people are both. Something about that lodged deep in my chest. After breakfast, Lily helped Mia pack her bag while I stood uselessly by, watching the two of them talk about spelling tests and favorite colors. There was no performance in it. No trying too hard. Just connection. At the door, Lily hesitated. I should go, she said. The roads should be clear now. I nodded, though something in me resisted the finality of it. Of course. Mia hugged her without warning, arms wrapping tight around Lily's waist. Lily stiffened for half a second, then melted into it, returning the hug carefully, fully. See you at school, Mia said. I'll be there, Lily replied. When the door closed behind them, Mia skipping ahead, Lily waving once over her shoulder, I stood alone in the hallway, the house suddenly quieter. But not empty. I walked back into the bedroom after they left. The bed was made now, smooth and neutral again, but something lingered there. Not scent or warmth, memory. I sat on the edge and waited. For guilt. For fear. For the familiar tightening that followed moments of happiness. None of it came. Instead, I felt something fragile but determined taking root. Hope, yes, but also responsibility. Morning had brought clarity, but it hadn't erased the truth. This wasn't a fantasy. This was real life. With a child. With a past. With consequences. On the bedside table, my phone buzzed softly. A message from Lily. Thank you for last night. And for this morning. Whatever happens next. I'm glad it happened. I stared at the screen longer than necessary, my thumb hovering before typing. Me too. It felt insufficient. But honest. Outside, the sky had cleared completely. Sunlight spilled across the garden, touching the places I'd neglected, the corners I'd stopped tending. For the first time in years, I wondered what might grow if I started again. I didn't know what came next. I only knew that something had begun. And as I stood there, alone in the quiet aftermath of morning, one truth echoed louder than anything else. Hope had returned. And I was terrified of losing it. Lily didn't leave that morning. Not because we said anything profound. Not because we promised anything out loud. She simply stayed, long enough for the coffee to cool, long enough for Mia to forget she was a guest, long enough for the house to begin adjusting to her presence as if it had been waiting. She stood by the kitchen window while I washed the dishes, sunlight catching in her hair. Outside, the garden looked tired but hopeful, patches of green pushing stubbornly through soil I hadn't touched in years. I noticed it then, the way her being there made me see things I'd ignored. Not because they hurt, but because I'd stopped believing they mattered. I can help, she said, reaching for a towel. You already are, I replied, and meant more than the dishes. She smiled at that, small and careful. The kind of smile that knows the moment is fragile. Weeks passed after that morning. Not dramatically. Not all at once. They unfolded slowly, the way healing does when it's real. We didn't rush into anything. We didn't label it. Lily came by after school sometimes, just for tea, she said. Sometimes she stayed for dinner. Sometimes she didn't. I learned to wait without anxiety, to enjoy her presence without clinging to it. Mia adored her in the uncomplicated way children do, without suspicion, without fear. Lily helped with homework, read bedtime stories when I worked late, listened to Mia's endless theories about the world with the seriousness they deserved. Watching them together did something to me I hadn't expected. It softened the sharp edges of my past. At night, when Lily wasn't there, I found myself thinking differently. Less guarded. Less braced for loss. I still missed Anna, always would, but the ache had changed shape. It no longer demanded silence. It simply existed, alongside something new. One evening, I found one of Anna's old letters tucked into a book I hadn't opened in years. Her handwriting slanted gently across the page. "If you ever feel like life has closed in on you," she'd written, "open the windows. Let someone in. Even if it scares you." I sat there for a long time, the letter trembling in my hands. For years, I'd treated grief like a promise, to never move too far forward. To never risk forgetting. But Lily hadn't erased Anna. She'd made room for her. The realization arrived quietly, but it changed everything. Lily had her own fears. I saw them in the way she hesitated before getting too comfortable, in how she sometimes pulled back after moments that felt too intimate. One night, sitting on the couch while rain traced slow paths down the glass, she told me about the man she'd loved before me. "He needed fixing," she said. And I thought love was enough. I didn't interrupt. I knew better. When it ended, she continued, I promised myself I'd never mistake broken for potential again. I looked at her then. Really looked. "And now?" "And now," she said, meeting my eyes, "I'm trying to learn that broken doesn't mean unworthy." Her honesty stunned me. Not because it accused me, but because it trusted me with something tender. We grew closer in small ways. Shared routines. Shared silences. Shared responsibility. Sometimes we slept in the same bed, sometimes we didn't. There was no pressure in it. Just choice. One quiet night, weeks later, the question came back to me, the one that had started everything. Will we sleep in the same bed? It no longer felt like fear. It felt like home. I watched Lily stand in the hallway, brushing her teeth, wearing one of my old shirts like it belonged to her. I thought about how easily she'd stepped into my life without trying to control it. How she'd respected the past without being threatened by it. I realized then that love wasn't a replacement. It was an addition. Lily didn't fill the space Anna left behind. She stood beside it. And somehow, that made the space feel less like a wound and more like a story. The night Mia got sick with a fever, Lily stayed up with me, pressing cool cloths to her forehead, whispering reassurance. When Mia finally slept, Lily leaned her head against my shoulder, exhaustion settling in. "You're a good father," she said softly. "I'm trying," I replied. She looked at me, eyes shining with something deeper than admiration. "You're doing more than trying." In that moment, something settled inside me. A choice I hadn't known I was making finally took shape. Love wasn't something that happened to me. It was something I chose. Not recklessly. Not blindly. But with awareness. With responsibility. With courage. On another night, much later, Lily stood at the front door, coat in hand, rain misting the air outside. She hesitated, fingers tightening around the strap of her bag. "Ethan," she said. "I need to know something." I waited. "Are you choosing this," she asked, "or just letting it happen?" The question landed softly, but it carried weight. I stepped closer, the porch light casting our shadows long and honest against the wall. "I'm choosing," I said. "Every day. Even when it scares me." She searched my face. Not for promises, but for truth. Then she nodded. That night, when she stayed, there was no distance between us. No careful inches. Just two people sharing warmth, breath, quiet certainty. The world outside pressed on, but inside the house, something solid had taken root. Time passed. Seasons shifted. The garden began to change. Green spread where neglect once lived. Mia grew taller, louder, surer. And Lily became part of the rhythm of our lives. One quiet night, long after everything had settled into something real, I lay awake listening to the house breathe. Lily slept beside me, her hand resting lightly on my chest. I thought back to the man I'd been, the one afraid of wanting, afraid of asking questions that could change everything. I smiled faintly. Because the question that once terrified me had given me the answer I'd been waiting for all along. Love didn't arrive loudly. It didn't demand erasure or sacrifice. It whispered, patiently, until I was brave enough to listen. And as I held Lily close, with Mia safe down the hall and the past no longer haunting every corner, I understood something finally, completely. Choosing love hadn't meant losing anything. It meant gaining a life. And for the first time since grief had taught me how to survive, I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was living.